Yeah, because we can go to the bush.
Welcome back, fishies. Doc Kane with Mom. We're at the Ninnekah Cemetery again, and we're going to be talking to you about the importance of taking pride in your community, getting involved with your local cemetery, because local cemeteries, they need help to run. Well, I'll let Mom tell you about what it takes to run the Ninnekah.
Good morning. We are a totally independent cemetery. We rely 100% on donations because we are not under the auspices of any township. The past couple of days, we had a gentleman come help us repair a section of fence. Doc, can you show him the fence here? He replaced for us a section starting about here and went probably 20, nearly 30 feet. And he did a really remarkable job at making sure it was tight.
And the materials were donated as well as the time.
Yes. A couple of years ago, our mower, person who mows, had backed into the fence right here, broke this pole completely off at the ground, and put a huge dent in the chain link, and the top bar was bent. He was going to fix it, but he never did. So I reached out to a friend of mine who's just a handyman, jack of all trades, master of none really, and asked him if this was something he could do. Sure. So he got on the ball, checked with a local fence company about getting some used materials, which we were all prepared to buy those materials. And he figured out how much fence he was going to need, that he needed a new post, we needed a new top bar, and he provided all that information to the fence company. And when they called him to tell him they had it and it was all ready, he went to pick it up. The lady told him no charge. That's our donation to the cemetery because that's something that we need to support. And he was going to donate his time. And I'm like, no, because he spent 2 days in the very 100-degree temperature working on this. So I said, no, we will make a donation to you to help cover at least your gas, because he was driving 30 miles one way just to come do this. So this is something that we were able to get done that had been needing to be done for quite some time. And like I say, Mike Cool did a very, very good job in getting that taken care of for us. And a huge shout out to Craddock Fence Company in Chickasha for donating the materials. That was a huge help. Doc, let's take a walk up here to some other things in the cemetery that we're looking to take care of. Some of these things we need volunteers to help. We've talked recently in other videos about lots that we have reclaimed, that we can hopefully resell. Well, this one we're going to go take a look at is a lot that, yes, we reclaimed it, but lo and behold, there are burials there, so we're not going to get to use it for anything. But we want to clean it up to where, because the bush has gotten so big, it's now encroaching on other lots that people will want to be buried on someday. And like I say, this bush has just really gotten out of control. Doc, can you kind of shoot towards it where you got a long shot of how big this bush has gotten. My goal as the cemetery sexton is to start trimming this bush back so we can see where is the base. And then once we get it back to a manageable spot, put Roundup on it and get it killed out and hopefully get it pulled off. And it'll make it much easier for our mowing person to take care of mowing it. But like I say, you can see how big this thing has grown to be.
It's pretty big.
Yes, and it just, I don't know what kind of bush it is. Don't know what kind of varmints could be.
Well, I'd figure
Making a home in
possums,
there.
snakes, raccoons, just to
I
name a
don't know.
few.
There may not be anything in there, I hope. But the branches are small enough that it'll be real easy for me to come in with my loppers and start trimming it back and just work in a circle going around it. And you can see that I've put out 3 temporary markers to show that yes, we believe there are at least 3 bodies here, possibly a 4th underneath that bush.
And that's a high probability.
And if there is indeed a body there, then this will be a goal of who are these people. The name that's on the map for who owned this lot, I have not been able to find any obituaries of any deceased person with that last name. So it could be family members, who knows?
Well, maybe we should mention the last name. And
Well, the last name that is on the map is Masters, Masters. I've been on Ancestry searching for somebody that lived here as far back as the early 1900s, have not been able to find anybody. And I think the first initial was a C on the map, C Masters. I've tried searching for just Mutt Masters, nothing. Can't find anybody. So this is going to be a real challenge to figure out who these 4 people could be. But like I say, want to get this lot cleared up. The bush is now moved over into this lot, which fortunately this one's already full. So don't have to worry about any future burials here. But as this bush encroaches and goes south, then yes, at some point in time, it's going to be over in this where they do have, I think, in here a couple of more spaces. But like I say, it's in the way of our mower.
and then we've got branches that
Yes.
are hanging out. And
Yes. This is something else we
down.
want to address. And you can tell, Doc, can you zero in at the ground?
Oh, yeah.
See, that one's completely broken off and it's just hanging there. And this tree is still alive. A little bit further south, you can see this tree is completely dead. Definitely needs to be taken care of. And like I say, we rely on volunteers to help us with this, or people who are willing to do the work for just a little bit of money. We're not rich by any means. We depend strictly on donations, and we are in the process now of trying to become a 501c13, which is a not-for-profit. And once we become not-for-profit, then any donations that are made could be tax deductible, which sometimes people don't want to donate unless they know it is going to be tax deductible. So this is something that we're working on. But this tree is awful. It's completely dead. It's right in the fence row. You can see numerous limbs have already fallen off of it. They're small enough that I may be able to break it up and put it in our dumpster. I don't know. Um, I don't know if they're light enough that I can drag them closer to the dumpster before I start breaking it up. But this is a
May
challenge.
have to bring my truck down and
Yeah.
use that to load them, but
Well, at least, tie a strap on them and drag them. But this is one of the challenges that we're facing that we need help with. Then we have this lot that there are only a couple of family members left who are granddaughters of one of the people buried here. This lot has been neglected for years. Mower can't get in to mow it, and because family members are not interested, will not take care of it. We have contacted one of those family members about taking out the fence, and they've given their permission. So we're going to take out the posts, um, dig up the granite. Our hope is to use the pipe. Mike Cool, who took care of our fence, is a welder, and he can weld us an entryway with our name that says Ninnekah Cemetery. Utilizing these poles, he can cut the poles off at the granite and only lose just a couple of inches from that. But then we can dig up that granite, and because there's 6 posts, my goal is to move those we have 3 entrances into the cemetery, put 2 of them at each entrance. And I would like to find some kind of a concrete pot to set on top of each one, and probably just keep artificial flowers in it, but mount those to these to dress up each entrance into the cemetery and make it look prettier. Cemeteries
make it
should be
not look
pretty.
so dreary.
Cemeteries should be pretty. It's a place where we put our loved ones, and we want to make it a nice place for people to visit. Um, Scenes like that tree that's down, it's very detracting. It's ugly. This is ugly. So we want to get it cleaned up, make it look nicer where our mower can get in here and mow across this. And like I say, one of the granddaughters has given her permission. The other granddaughter lives out of state, and she's not interested. She's not able to travel 300 miles to come take care of it. So our solution is take it out, just get rid of it. So this is on our to-do list.
And of course, something that folks should keep in mind is, when you have a family plot, you should really take care of it. Help the cemetery out, because they don't always have somebody that can go around weed eat around your loved one's burial place or mow it. This cemetery is a prime example of that. A lot of things are harder to do when it's not a municipality that runs it.
Right. And if you can't physically come help, if you can make a monetary donation, and we're not the only cemetery. There are cemeteries all across the United States.
Many have been long forgotten.
Small rural cemeteries. We have another one here in Grady County that is on private land that is totally neglected now. And it is a Native American cemetery. Once we get Ninnekah to a manageable condition, that it's going to be easier to maintain. Moncrief Cemetery will probably be next on our list. It technically now belongs to Grady County. So, our goal is to maybe approach the county commissioners and offer our services to help take care of that. If they'll deal with a landowner to give us definite access to that cemetery to bring it back to life. Because right now, it's probably this high in grass. You can't even see the headstones. The landowner really does not want anybody coming in there and going in that cemetery, which is sad because there are probably about a dozen living relatives. They don't know how to gain access. Title 8 in Oklahoma says that they can give that landowner 2 days written notice that they want access, and legally he has to let them come in. But obviously they're not aware of Title 8. So that'll be one of our projects, is to bring that cemetery to life so that those relatives will know what their legal rights are where their loved ones are at. But that's down the road. Right now we want to take care of Ninnekah and get it squared away. As you can see, Doc kind of pan around at a lot of the trees that have low hanging branches. We want to work to get those trimmed up to where at least the mower can get around those easier than what they're doing right now.
And it also helped to let the grass grow.
Yeah.
Because when it's,
you wouldn't have to weed eat.
Yeah, when it's down at ground level, it makes it hard on the grass to stay growing, and you end up with dirt instead of grass.
Right.
And the dirt can wash out with heavy rains. And as you can tell, there's a lot of various slopes in this cemetery that, they affect the water flow. And of course, there is a pond back off that direction, and it's a fairly big pond, and that water has to go that direction.
Right.
So it makes it kind of hard when the dirt washes away. And of course, it makes it hard to maintain headstones such as this one.
Right.
When the trees get grown out too far.
Yeah. The roots will interfere with the base. And I think that's what has happened with this one. And it needs to be cleaned. That's something that I would like to do with some of these old ones. This person was buried 1934, July 1934. There's probably no family left. If they are, they're probably old.
Very, I'm sure.
Yeah, and don't have. Whew, look out, Doc! Get our heads taken off here. So this is something that we want to work on. And it doesn't take much if you've got loppers to just cut off these low-hanging ones. They're not real thick, so they would be easy trimmed.
And you can tell that there's a headstone right here at the base of the tree
that's pretty well covered up.
Is essentially covered up and needs to be fixed, but re-leveled, but it can't be with all this in the way.
Right. And because the tree root, that is probably what has pushed that headstone up.
Yeah, and it looks like somebody has attempted it, trying to uncover that to re-level it.
Yeah. So we have lots of work. And like I say, that lot owner, there's probably no family left. This lot, obviously there are relatives that are able to come out and put out flowers. But given the fact that this baby died in 1932, they're probably up in their 90s now. How many more years they'll be able to come out and do that, but they obviously can't physically help maintain things. So this is, one of our goals, trim up these trees at least where you can see out and the mower can get in there and mow.
And these right here are dead even with my head.
Right.
And I'm about 5'9", 5'10", so
Yeah.
I have to kind of duck.
Yeah. So lots of work. Doc, let's walk down here to this intersection and we'll address the water runoff issue that we have. Because a lot of this area is such a steep slope, this low area to the west, we call it the swamp because when it is the rainy season, usually May through June, you can't even get in there because it is so boggy. We can't utilize it for burials because it is so low lying and holds water. But the road, Doc, see if you can zero in on some of the ruts where it has washed out as it comes across. Since we, a couple of years ago, managed to get some gravel brought in, that has helped a little bit. But across this road, the water runs down and it comes across, it's washed a trench, and it just goes right across and out. And from there, it'll run on down to the pond that Doc mentioned. So one of the things we would like to get some help with is to build up this area where it's not as low and put in some type of drainage, whether it be
Tin horns or
underground pipe, something to help with the drainage issue so that it doesn't wash out the road. And like I say, after putting gravel in, that helped tremendously. But
heavy rains washes the gravel off into the grass.
Right.
And on down to the pond.
Right. And like I say, this whole low area. And of course, many things.
These two trees.
Yes, that's on our wish list to get taken down. And we do have a couple of gentlemen that believe this first tree that they can take it out and make it fall towards where we're standing. We want to keep as much of the base of the tree as possible because we do have a gentleman that has volunteered to take the tree stump then and make benches to put up in our pavilion. We only have 4 benches in it right now. We would like to have some more. So this gentleman has said, hey, you get the tree on the ground. He said, I'll take it and I can make you some more benches. And he thinks he can get several, maybe, pieces of good wood out of it to make us some cedar benches. So we got to get the trees down first. No easy task.
Because you got to be careful not to damage headstones. Correct. And of course, zoom in and you can see the one on the second tree there.
Yes.
Right at the base, and it's snugged up to it pretty tight.
Yep.
And already leaning because of the tree.
Causing that tombstone some issues. And you can, if you can zoom in up about halfway up the tree, you can see where some big limbs have broken off. Fortunately, the way those fell, they didn't damage a headstone. But that's our biggest fear, is that if we don't get them down before we have another ice storm, that ice storm will take them down.
And of course, there at the west end of the cemetery, there's absolutely no fence. And that's another issue that Mom has mentioned to me the past few days, is wishing that they could, get that cleaned up to get a full fence around it.
Right.
And of course, you have this section here that it's kind of like chicken wire almost and barbed wire.
Right.
And that, you know, should really be replaced as well.
Right. Yeah. And this big tree is another issue. It's a Bradford pear, which is surprising that it is as big as it is, but it has some very low-hanging branches. It needs to be trimmed back desperately, because I promise you, Bradford pears do not have much of a root system. And like I say, it's amazing to me that it has gotten as large as it has without some of those branches breaking. But come winter, if we get an ice storm, it will come down and very possibly will damage headstones.
And it's already lifted
right.
one
See,
headstone, and there's another headstone on the other side of it there.
right.
And you can tell those branches, yeah, they're kind of thick, but
That
Bradford
also means they're
pears
heavy.
are heavy. I've had to split a few, and they can split real easy. And the fact, like Mom said, the fact that this one has gotten to be the size that it has without it splitting and breaking is pretty amazing. But the day will come where it does happen.
Yeah.
And considering there's so many headstones underneath it,
I don't know if you can zoom in, Doc. You can see where there have been other branches that did fall. You can see where those were cut off then.
yeah.
Um,
And of course, there's a few spots where it looks like it had once been taken off, and it actually grew a new branch out of that spot.
Right. But when you look at the size of the little branches, those will be easy to take out if you had a pole saw. Get the little ones out gradually.
And there's
And
some
then,
branches that you can tell they don't have a single leaf on them anymore.
Yeah.
Because they're not able to reach the sunlight.
Right. And it's sad that, because these trees really are beautiful trees. But
unless you have severe allergies to them. And
yeah, and their blooms really stink.
I don't know. I've always kind of liked the smell of them, but yet they make me sneeze my head off.
Yeah. Then our last project is this big dead elm tree. There are many branches in it that need to come out that are already broken. And it's kind of like a jigsaw puzzle in figuring out where do you start to start safely removing those branches. This tree is completely dead. It has started shedding its bark. I spent quite a while yesterday picking up bark that had fallen off and big branches, cleaning up around it, but there's still some bark left that eventually will fall off. The gentleman that thinks he can safely take out that one pine tree, he also believes he can work on this. But like I say, it's all on a volunteer basis, and it depends on him being able to find enough men who can help him safely.
And what's a good way for people in the Chickasha, Ninnekah, and surrounding areas that want to either donate materials or time and come help out? where do they need to go to be able to contact the cemetery board?
Well, we have a Facebook page called Friends of the Ninnekah Cemetery. They can reach me at any time. My number is 405-274-4767. I'm the cemetery sexton, and I'm very accessible. Our address is Post Office Box 316, Ninnekah, Oklahoma 73067. If you want to mail a check, make it out to Friends of the Ninnekah Cemetery Association. It's just that simple. If you live close, drive out. We have a pavilion. It's kind of going into the sun. Don't know how well you can see it, but inside our pavilion, we have a directory of names of the people buried here, and there are cards that give our contact information and how you can get a hold of some of us. That's accessible. It's always open. And at our gates, two of the entrances, we also have little pockets that have our brochures and contact information. But the easiest way is just to give us a call. And not for just Grady County, Oklahoma. There's other places in Oklahoma. There's cemeteries all across the United States. Wherever you're viewing from, check with your local Chamber of Commerce. They can hopefully have a listing of the cemeteries in the area. You can check at your local courthouse to see what they show as local cemeteries. Find a Grave is an excellent website. It's free to use. You can search all around the world on Find a Grave if you know the person's name. But if you want to know what cemeteries are in a local area, you can search by cemetery name. I'd encourage you to check out Find a Grave if you're not familiar with it. If you have a relative that's buried quite a few states away, you've never been able to go visit, check them out on Find a Grave and see if they're there, and chances are there's a picture of their headstone on that website. Find a Grave is a free site. It's powered by Ancestry.com, owned by them, but it is free to use. It's free to become a member. And it's very user-friendly. So there's a lot of resources out there that you can use to find some of these smaller community rural cemeteries. That's where the need is. Municipalities, large metro areas, those are controlled by huge cemetery associations. They have a perpetual care that their deed holders have to pay a fee. We just ask for donations to help us. Nothing's mandatory. It's all just from right here in your heart, what you feel led to help do. Doc, do you have any other questions that?
I think that's about going to wrap it up there.
Okay.
Reach out, get involved with, local civic projects like a, small run cemetery, your little parks, things like that. Find out what you can get involved with to help your community out, and maybe help somebody take care of things that need to be taken care of. Until next time, as always, much love, rock on, have a blessed day, everybody. Peace out.